Alright guys, so today we're taking a little bit of break from the actual engine assembly. This is still kind of part of the engine, but not the engine stuff. So let me show you what I got going on here. Okay, so for those of you who do not know, these are the OEM header exhaust manifold, whatever you want to call it, off of a Subaru. So this is the passenger side header that goes on like so. This is the driver side that goes on like that. And then this is the mid pipe that goes between them. So it's like that. Now these come with heat shields on them, but if you take a look at my thumb here, so I really cut my thumb pretty bad. Went down to the bone. Taking off a drain plug, my hand hit one of the heat shields that was on these headers, so that was the last straw. They were already rusty and rattling and stuff, and I wanted them off anyways, but me cutting my hand doing some basic maintenance on a car, that was the end of it. So I took all those heat shields off. There's usually a heat shield that spans the whole length of this, and then there's kind of like a box encasing these guys. So I took all those off. If I were to just take them off and leave them like this, it would introduce a lot of heat soaking into the block. So I'm going to do some heat wrap. A lot of people don't like wrapping exhaust, but with turbo cars, the temperatures that the exhaust sees are very high, and it just seems to be more beneficial to wrap them to keep those temps down. So there's pros and cons to wrapping your exhaust. Some people say that longevity suffers because the wrap can trap in moisture, which can cause your pipes to rust and then break. But we'll see how that turns out. I didn't pay very much for any of my exhaust components just because I know that in the future, with my future plans as far as turbo swap goes, that I'm going to have to modify all of the exhaust. So I didn't want to buy down pipes and up pipes that were $500 because I know I'm just going to chop them up and weld new bits onto them. So if you're wondering, that's why I didn't buy the top quality up pipe and down pipe, which you'll see later. So for now I will be using the stock headers because when I do upgrade to an actual header, it's going to be an equal length header, so you won't have the Subi rumble. And right now I don't really want to do that since I don't need it yet. So we're going to stick with the unequal length OEM headers for the power that I'm going to be making in the near future. This isn't going to be a restriction. So we're just going to wrap it to keep the temps down. I'm also going to wrap the up pipe, which comes off of here. And then I'm also going to wrap the top section of the downpipe just to reduce the ambient air temperatures in the engine bay. So I will be using DEI wrap, and this isn't a fiberglass wrap, it's titanium. I don't know exactly what it is, but it's better than fiberglass. You don't have to wet the wrap to apply it, which I think is also part of the reason why people don't like wrap, because with the fiberglass wraps you have to wet them, and then you're literally putting wet fiberglass on an exhaust that's made of steel. So I think that in a way kind of expedites the process of damage. So that being said, I got some titanium wrap. This is probably the best wrap that you can buy, and I got some cable ties. There's 10 in here. The package only comes with 5, but I bought 2 and I just put all 10 in there. That should be enough ties for this. Okay, so what I'd done off camera was I cut and ground down all the spots where the heat shield's mounted to. So there was like a post coming up here, a post coming up here where the bolts went onto the heat shield, as well as down there on that bottom bend. So all I did was cut and then grind them smooth so that the wrap lays on better. And then I also just ground down some of the casting marks that were on there. And you can see it on this one too. There was a tab right here. Ground it down, kind of left that little bit of webbing right there just in case it was a little bit structural. Ground down the casting, and then there was a tab right there. So I pretty much just wanted to get it smooth. Now I gotta wait on this one because there's these little knobs right here, and I ground that one flat. This is where I'm going to drill and tap a hole for the exhaust gas temperature probe, because this is cylinder 2 and 4, and you're supposed to mount your EGT probes like 4 to 6 inches away from you know, the hottest cylinder, and cylinder 4 is the hottest cylinder in Subaru engines. So this one's pretty much off of 4, a little bit of 2 blending in there, but it should give me a good reading. Alright, so I also got some gloves on to keep some of these fine fibers from going into my hand, like fiberglass. So you want, there's a sewn edge, and this edge is just kind of looped over, so you want this sewn edge to be on the outside, so you're overlapping on this side. So whichever direction you're starting from, you want the sewn edge to be towards that flange, and fold over this corner like so, just to, you know, keep the fraying from showing up on the finished product. Okay, so you want to fold it over and tuck the fraying as best as you can, and you want to loop the first loop over itself to keep it tight and kind of anchor it in place. I'm going to continue this loop with a 1/4 inch overlap. Okay, so now I'm going to fold the ends in like that, and then fold it back over, and what that does is it tucks the frayed ends in, and then lay it down flat. And then I'm going to grab one of these ties, and I'm going to put it on this guy. Okay, so the camera died right as I was putting the cable tie on, but it works just like a zip tie, and I pulled it tight with a pair of pliers. So now you're going to cut off the tie, leaving about 1 inch left over, and then you can fold that back on itself, fold it in half, and then loop it back, and then lay it on top of the lock, and that just keeps the lock from backing off, and it gives it a little cleaner finish. You can see that. So I could have probably done a little bit better right here. I did a little bit too much overlap, but I don't think it was too bad. It's nice and tight around the pipe, which is good. So that's what that side looks like. You could probably get away without putting a tie on here, but I think I will put a tie. We'll see what I feel like. But yeah, you can also use hose clamps. They might be a little bit cheaper than these guys, I'm not sure. So now I'm going to wrap this section right here. Here's the finished product. I probably could have done a better job, but I think this will do. It's not too bad. So I think it looks pretty good. Yeah, it's got a cool like woven finish, and you can see since I tucked the ends in, nothing will pop out, like no fraying will pop out. Okay, so I got this side of the header wrapped. This part was a bit tricky, but I think I did it the best way possible. So I had to go around this O2 sensor, and there's better ways to do this if you have like a space on the other side as well, but since it's right up against the flange, I couldn't really get this spot covered. But I laid it down, wrapped it back, and looped it up, and then I just wrapped it from this side, kind of going around this radius, making sure I had a 1/4 inch overlap on this side. And then once it got to the flange, I wrapped it back one more time, kind of folded it over so there wasn't as much binding in this bend right here. And then I just started wrapping it around this pipe until I got up to here, and then I put the tie on here. I probably could have put it a little higher, but I think this will be fine. I just kind of wanted to get it in the center of the fold to keep it from wrapping back over. But yeah, that's how I tied it up. I think it looks alright. I mean, most of the heat's going to be contained Some of it's going to escape, but that's alright. This will still work better than the factory heat shields would. And there's also that opening right there. But for the most part, it should be pretty sealed off. So I'm putting a exhaust gas temperature sensor in the car. So you need a probe that goes in pretty close to where the exhaust comes out of the header on your hottest cylinder. That cylinder is number 4. So I put this probe right here in this. There's like a little nipple there. I just drilled and tapped. So the tapping didn't come out very well because that was my first time tapping something. But there's threads, they work. I'm not happy with it though. So what I'm going to do is when I get the gauge, I'm going to thread the bung in here and then I'm just going to weld it around as well. So my up pipe should come today. So I want to get the up pipe on and install the turbo. And to do that, I also have to have this on. So I'm not going to wrap it at this point. I'm going to install it on the car and then wrap it later. Okay, so right now I'm going to go ahead and put the header back together. I got some new Grimspeed gaskets for all my exhaust stuff. Alright, so what I got here is a few varieties of gaskets that you can get. Right here are what you get with most aftermarket exhaust systems you buy. They'll send you these type of gaskets. I'll give you a closer look in a second. These are Subaru OEM gaskets, and then these are all Grimspeed gaskets. So let me show you the OEM Subaru ones. So OEM Subaru gaskets are multi-layered steel. So there's 3 pieces of sheet steel with like this little crush system in there, and that's just supposed to create a better seal. With the multi-layered steel stuff, it seals better. Now compared to what you get with aftermarket stuff, this is like almost like a fiber metal mesh that's just supposed to compress, but these tend to leak a lot. They're not very good, but they're cheap to make, so that's why they include them with your aftermarket exhaust systems. And here's another one. They got like a metal ring in the center, but then everything else is just like a fiber mesh. Now these are the Grimspeed ones, and you can see I have a few of them, but basically Grimspeed's the same style gasket as Subaru, but they use 5 layers of steel instead of 3, so you get better squish out of them. They're less prone to leaks than even the OEM gaskets are, and they're also cheaper. So just as an example, this one gasket from Subaru costs $15. Now to buy a pair of these gaskets from Grimspeed, it's $18. So you can almost buy 2 of these from Grimspeed for the price of 1 of these. So they're a lot cheaper, better quality. I would highly recommend Grimspeed gaskets. That kind of gives you an idea of what it's going to look like installed with the wrap. Just imagine this is wrapped as well. Yeah, it looks pretty good. The up pipe should come today. Then I can install the up pipe onto here, and then I can install my turbo. Okay, so the torque for these bolts right here, the crossovers, are 35 Newton meters. Okay, so I apologize for the bad lighting, but I want to get this up pipe on before the day's over. And it's pretty late now, so the light's pretty bad, but we're going to do what we can with what we got. So. Alright, so there's the installed up pipe. The supplied bolt, I used the Grimspeed gasket, of course. And then I had to install these studs, but you guys know how to install studs. And then they just bolt in to the bracket at those 2 locations, and then I can drop the turbo up top and it'll install right there. Okay, so these 2 bolts right here are 35 Newton meters for the torque, which I'm guessing that they're probably already at. Yep. Pretty sure I exceeded 35 Newton meters on those ones. They're new bolts, so whatever. Yeah. So those ones are good. And then all of these bolts are also 35 Newton meters. Okay, so the video just kind of ended right there. Since I'm really behind editing videos, I figured it would be a good time to just show you guys what the final product looks like with the engine in the car and everything as far as the exhaust goes. Okay, so you can't really see the turbo much because I got this blanket here, but that's a PTP turbo blanket that just covers up the hot side of the turbo, and you can see my downpipe is wrapped, and that goes like halfway down. Okay, so you can see that's the driver's side. There's the EGT probe, there's a crossover pipe, that one, and then you can see the up pipe's wrapped as well, and I'll show you the downpipe right now. So you can see that the bottom of the downpipe, that's how far wrapped it is down from the top. And then I just left it stainless back to the cat back system. So that's it. But yeah, I've been driving it around for a little while with the wrap and stuff like that, and I really like it. The engine bay temps are really low. I can set my hand down on the intake manifold after, you know, running in 90-degree weather just fine. So it's super cool. I think it's well worth the money. If you guys are looking to just lower your engine bay temps, it's definitely a good way to do it, better than heat shields. I know a lot of people do with the turbo, they'll put the turbo blanket and a heat shield, and that worked really well too. So that's going to be it for this video. I'm trying to get caught up on editing all these videos. So hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for the next one.